Time now to take a look at what's grabbing headlines here in the French papers. Florence Villeneuve, very good day to you.
Hello, Eve.
Florence, this European migration problem or situation getting a lot of coverage.
That's right, specifically a plan, a blueprint, if you will, from the European Commission on just how to deal with the problem. It includes a very controversial plan for national quotas. Le Figaro calls it an explosive proposal from the European Commission. The EU wants to share the burden of processing asylum claims. That's the way Le Figaro puts it. Now, according to the current system, it's up to the country where migrants land to take responsibility for them. And so because of that, it means Italy and Greece are really bearing the brunt of the current migrant surge. And the Commission really wants to change the system so that other EU countries pull their weight by accepting these quotas. The plan is to bring 20,000 refugees to Europe in the next 2 years.
Okay, now Le Figaro isn't the only one concentrating on this controversial quota system.
That's right. Libération talks about solidarity by quotas, but what does this actually mean? Well, the quota system would take into consideration the population, wealth, and unemployment rate of each EU country. So, for instance, the Commission's blueprint says that France would absorb 11.9% of the migrants, Germany 15.4%, Spain 7.75%. There are some notable absences, however, and, that's because of EU law. The UK, Ireland, and Denmark would be exempt from this quota system. And in fact, yesterday, British authorities said that they were completely opposed to any kind of quota system. They said this would just encourage clandestine immigration. They said that instead, the EU should really focus on sending these economic migrants back home and should focus more on fighting human traffickers.
One wonders really how it will come into effect if some countries can opt out. It's going to be hard to enforce. Anyway, moving on to another issue now. French papers here also focusing a lot on the unrest in Burundi.
That's right. Le Parisien talks about total confusion in Burundi. So yesterday, Major General Godfrey Niyombare announced a coup d'etat, but its outcome still remains unclear. The presidency insists that it's failed. So who is the president? Well, Le Point has a profile of the embattled president, Pierre Nkurunziza, a former sports teacher, former Hutu rebel. He's an evangelical Christian who claims to have a divine willpower to say that he should remain president of Burundi. Of course, this attempt at a coup comes after weeks of deadly protests over his bid for a third term, which critics say completely violates the constitution.
Yeah, I believe his argument was that the first time he was elected by parliament, not the people, so we can, leave that one out. Remains to be seen what will happen there. Back to here in France, papers continue to focus on, we mentioned it earlier in the week, even in weeks gone by, controversial educational reform.
That's right. It's a very controversial reform that's really ruffled a lot of feathers, especially among conservatives. Now, the reform is being championed by the education minister, Najat Vallaud-Belkacem. She was born in Morocco, and Le Parisien says that the government accuses her critics of being slightly xenophobic against the minister. And so you can see here Le Parisien saying this debate, which is already very fiery, is really slipping into dangerous territory.
Okay, now another debate, Libération is focusing on it, is sex life of handicapped people.
Sorry, it's a very interesting debate that's on the front page of Libération today, this debate on sexual assistance for disabled people. Libération points out it makes people really uncomfortable, and because of this, it's been largely avoided here in France for years. The question is, does helping a disabled person explore their sexuality for a fee, does that count as prostitution? Now, Libération, the left-leaning paper, really does argue in favor of le plaisir pour tous, so pleasure for everybody. Handicapped people should be allowed to pay a trained assistant to help them have a sex life. There is a glaring inequality that has subsisted way too long in France, according to Libération, an inequality we really need to talk about. The problem is that people aren't informed about this, and therefore nothing is being done to improve things. Now, Libération has a very special report on this, and what you can see here is the editorial in Libération, which argues in favor of this. First of all, Libération says there's nothing wrong with seeking pleasure. The money aspect is also important, according to Libération, because it leaves the family of disabled people out of it. And also, it takes away a certain dependency that disabled people face on a daily basis. And Libération argues that the idea isn't to impose anything on anybody, but it's just to give disabled people the freedom to choose, something that they don't often get on a daily basis.
Okay, finally, a quick word. Let's not leave him out. President François Hollande is back on the front pages again today.
That's right. Yesterday, his former partner Valérie Trierweiler gave a very fiery interview to Le Parisien. He's back on the front page. They're not talking about Charlie's angels. They're talking about Hollande's angels, les drôles de dames, Hollande and his women. So you can see his former First Lady partner there, Valérie Trierweiler, on the front page, as well as his former partner, Ségolène Royal, and his unofficial girlfriend, Julie Gaillet. Now, why are we talking about all these women? It's because when Hollande was elected, he vowed to be Mr. Normal. He wanted to have a very discreet private life. Well, that's been a total failure, according to Le Parisien. The women in his life have really stolen the spotlight. They're incredibly present in his daily life. His private life isn't as private as he'd like it to be. And let's just take a look at that cartoon in Le Parisien. You can see Hollande actually talking to Nicolas Sarkozy, his political rival. You can see Hollande saying, "I'm being chased by so many dresses." Now, dress is robe in French. Sarkozy says, "Tell me about it. I'm also being chased by dresses, but different kind of robe. This is more of the robe that judges wear," because, of course, Nicolas Sarkozy has a lot of judicial problems right now.
Okay, I'm sure they're very happy with that cartoon. Florence, you know, there with the French papers. Thanks indeed for that.